大家好，欢迎来到刚刚连线。My topic today: TikTok. Did Trump just score an own goal? For full disclosure, I'm not a user, leave alone a content creator on TikTok. I know the app, but at 47, I'm several times the age of most users. As European observer of this bizarre spectacle, interested in macroeconomics and geopolitics, I notice whenever I think it can't get more obviously ridiculous, the Trump administration has another ace up its sleeve. TikTok, a national security threat? Honestly? Instead of making me afraid of downloading this app, it makes me think. In the case of Huawei, many Western, well-meaning politicians who are no experts in the immensely complex world of modern telecommunication might have been left with a bad feeling that maybe, just maybe, they overlooked some risks in the depths of the different software layers and therefore should err on the side of caution and ban the use of Huawei. Justified or not, that is somewhat understandable. But TikTok? It's blatantly obvious now that even in the worst of all possible cases, if the Chinese Communist Party had direct access to all the user data collected by TikTok, what horrible consequence would that have? Why do we even need to argue if the servers are in the US, or Singapore, or China? What is there even to be found? Let's see. When in November 2019, the Commerce Department Committee started investigating, their list of data that could get into the wrong hands consisted of device to access the platform, IP address, mobile carrier, time zone, screen resolution, operating system, app names and types, keystroke patterns or rhythms. So obviously, if you mix all those together and add a good portion of Chinese artificial intelligence, you directly end up with the launch codes of the nuclear intercontinental ballistic missiles. Clearly, a major threat to US national security. Or did they mean lawmakers would not be able to stay serious anymore with all the singing, dancing, memes and magic? But honestly, I like to see things in proportion, compare and ask myself, what is more likely? Most data is immediately necessary for the proper functioning of the app. Keystroke patterns or rhythms, however, is something which can be used for biometric identification. One might wonder why it needs to be in the list. But I compare that to the immense treasure of data that people around the world upload for everybody to see when they use Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, and the like, or identify with fingerprint sensors or iris scanners on their phones, etc. When Facebook data was illegally downloaded and systematically used by illegal foreign entities like Cambridge Analytica to tailor the Trump campaign down to individual voters, that didn't lead to any major consequences for Facebook. Foreigners illegally influenced US elections in Trump's favor by allocating resources to those voters who had not yet made up their minds and feeding arguments to the campaign aides which were likely to resonate with these individuals. That seems straight out of Orwell's 1984. So let's see what else is more or less likely in 8 questions. Question number 1. Is it more likely that China will learn something it didn't already know about the American youth? Or is it more likely that the Trump administration wants to hurt any Chinese company which is on peer competitor level or even surpassing US companies, knowing that in the realm of social networks, TikTok is the fastest growing and only real global Chinese success. 2. Is it more likely that TikTok servers are the best source to gain strategic information about the American population? Or is it more promising to tap into search engines like Google or directly harvest 100% of internet and telecom traffic, as does the US National Security Agency for Europe, with the help from the British Secret Service GCHQ? Since the NSA scandal, we all know in Europe you have to encrypt or you have no privacy at all. But hardly anybody cares, although many send much more sensitive information than how they look when unshaven or their latest shovel dance move. 3. Is it more likely that TikTok is, after Huawei, really the biggest concern of counter-espionage? Or is it more likely that the extremely vain and narcissist Donald Trump was deeply humiliated by some TikTok and K-pop pranksters and is seeking revenge? His first campaign rally after the lockdown in Tulsa, Oklahoma was planned for 19,200 fans inside the hall and a further tens of thousands in an outdoor overflow area after having announced that more than 1 million ticket applications had been received. In the end, the fire department counted 6,200 attendees, and the open air stands had to be quickly removed. The reason? Practical jokers on TikTok had aligned to reserve tickets with the intention to never show up and leave Trump flabbergasted. It worked like a charm. It was in Tulsa where Trump honestly proposed to reduce the number of COVID cases by simply slowing down testing. So maybe K-pop is the next national security threat? 4. Is it more likely that Donald Trump really feels that sensitive data could be unsafe even in the hands of Microsoft? Or is it more likely that he wants to let all parties dangle in the air to show his power, get a better price for the US buyer, while giving his arch-enemy Bill Gates a good run for his money? Sure, Gates left the Microsoft management, but he's maybe the most vocal advocate for masks, vaccines, and general discipline, and shows humanitarian initiative. All that can't please this president. 5. Is it more likely that the Trump administration is holding hearings with big tech to crack down on excessive market power in the best interest of small businesses and the common man? Or is it more likely that the progressive tech entrepreneurs in Silicon Valley are arch enemies of Trump, the conservative champion of the traditional industries like steel and oil and gas? Could it be that Trump looks for a way to retaliate if Amazon founder and CEO Jeff Bezos, much richer than Trump, criticizes him through the Washington Post, which he bought? How much sense does it make to combine TikTok's 2 billion users with LinkedIn's 500 million, while at the same time threatening breaking up cartels for excessive market dominance? 6. Is it more likely that the idea hit Trump right there and then, or could it be that Trump pulls his rabbit out of the hat now, although it's a problem he created some time ago, because the Q2 GDP data was so abysmal? At minus 33%, worse than the Great Depression in 1929, he needs a more polemic topic for the news cycle. Coincidentally, he launched the idea of postponing the elections, knowing full well that wasn't constitutionally possible and would get shut down quickly. So now, TikTok is a great alternative, especially as it gives him even the opportunity to solve the problem he himself created, his signature move. Putting the app into US investors' hands might calm the users. With Black Lives Matter, that's much trickier. Sending aggressive federal police is not seen as restoring law and order by all. 7. The biggest question I'm asking myself, could it be that the nationalistic boost of banning TikTok, feeding into the America First, China Evil narrative, could backfire? In other words, is it more likely that Trump gains voters for November 3rd by rallying his older base, by being tough on China once more by banning TikTok, of which they might be hearing for the first time? Or is it more likely that the 1 in 5 Americans who regularly use TikTok seek their revenge on Trump in the election? Trump won in 2016 not in the least because many of the young voters did not cast their vote. 18 to 29-year-olds voted 55% to 37% against Trump, but only 46% of them voted at all, compared to 71% among the 65-plus generation. Here in Europe, we had a similar case where the EU strengthened the intellectual property rights on the internet. Many feared for the freedom of the web, and the backlash against the responsible politicians was massive in the next election. 8. While data privacy protection is a big issue in Europe and especially Germany, and TikTok, like other social networks, are under scrutiny for too much or too little censorship, or that they don't facilitate pedophilia, etc., I think it is much less likely TikTok could be banned in Germany, and much more likely that Donald Trump is declared a major risk for international security. So now, you connect the pieces and answer for yourself. What's most likely? 再见。